In this video, I'm going to walk you through 15 psychological triggers that marketers use every single day to influence, persuade, and guide people toward buying decisions. And I want to be upfront about something. These principles are so deeply wired into how we work as humans that even when you know they're being used on you, you still can't fully stop them. By the end of this video, you'll start seeing them everywhere. In every ad you scroll past, every offer you consider, every purchase you didn't plan on making. So let's get into it. Pattern interrupt. Before anything else can work, you need to stop someone in their tracks. The human brain is wired to filter out anything predictable. We scroll on autopilot, skip ads automatically, and tune out anything that feels like we have seen before. A pattern interrupt breaks that autopilot. It's an unexpected image, the counterintuitive statement, the question that doesn't go where the reader expects. In copywriting, this is your hook. The first line of an ad, the subject line of an email, the opening frame of a video. If it feels like everything else, it gets treated like everything else. The goal here is to create a moment of cognitive disruption that forces attention before the brain can decide to look away. Once you have stopped someone, what happens in the next few seconds determines whether they stay. The halo effect. The first impression someone has of your brand shapes how they interpret everything that follows. A strong first impression creates a kind of protective layer. Future imperfections get filtered through that positive lens. People extend more trust, more patience, and more goodwill to brands that started their relationship well. A weak first impression does the opposite. It makes every subsequent interaction harder. This is why I obsess over the first touch point in any campaign. The opening line, the first email, the design of the landing page. Get that right and everything downstream benefits from it. And once that first impression lands, the next thing that determines your credibility is what people already know about you. Authority bias. People follow the lead of those who appear to know more than they do. This is why credentials, experience, and demonstrated results matter so much in marketing. Showcasing numbers, client outcomes, recognizable names you have worked with, or frameworks you have developed signals expertise before someone reads a single word of your pitch. Authority doesn't require a degree or a title, it requires proof. Results speak louder than claims, case studies speak louder than testimonials, and specific numbers speak way more louder than vague statements. But authority alone doesn't create a relationship. The next trigger is what starts building one. Reciprocity. When you give something first, people feel compelled to give something back. This is one of the most studied principles in human psychology. When someone receives something of value, they feel an obligation to reciprocate. In marketing, this means leading with genuine value before asking for anything. A piece of content that actually helps, a free resource that solves a real problem, an insight that changes how someone thinks. The key word here is genuine. Reciprocity only works when the giving feels real. Giving something cheap or irrelevant to manufacture obligation backfires. So give something you would actually be proud of, and the relationship starts on the right foot. Once someone trusts you, the most powerful way to deepen that trust is through the next trigger, story bias. This is my favorite one. The human brain processes stories differently from information. Data gets evaluated, stories get experienced. When someone reads a list of facts, they engage their analytical brain and start looking for reasons to disagree. When someone follows a story, they suspend that critical filter and start feeling what the characters feel. This is why the best copy is built around narrative. Take Coca-Cola, for example. A before and after, a moment of transformation, a specific scene with a real person making a real decision. When you wrap your message in a story, it bypasses the skepticism that information triggers and lands somewhere deeper. The story makes them feel something. Now, the next trigger makes them filter what they feel through what they already believe. This is confirmation bias. People filter new information through the beliefs they already hold. That's why the best copy doesn't try to change someone's mind. It just confirms what they already suspect and position your offer as the logical next step. If your audience already believes the market is rigged against beginners, lead with that belief and show them how your product addresses it. You're not convincing them of something new. You're agreeing with something they already feel it's true. That's the secret. When someone feels understood, they lower their guard. And when their guard is down, the next trigger hits hardest: loss aversion. People feel the pain of losing something more intensely than the pleasure of gaining something equivalent. That's funny, right? This is why the most effective copy focuses on what someone stands to lose by not acting, not just what they gain by acting. The cost of inaction, the opportunity is slipping away. The version of their life that stays the same if they do nothing. Applied ethically, this means making the cost of staying put visible and real. Applied manipulatively, it becomes fear-mongering. The difference is whether what you're saying is actually true. So loss aversion connects directly to the next trigger, because one of the most powerful things someone can lose is time. Scarcity versus urgency. These two get used interchangeably, but they are different, and confusing them kills convergence. Scarcity is about limited supply. For example, there are only 50 spots. This bonus disappears when the time is hit zero. Once it's gone, now urgency is about limited time. For example, the price goes up on Friday, or the card closes at midnight. Both of them work, but they work differently and they need to be applied in the right context. The rule is simple. Use scarcity when supply is actually limited. Use urgency when the deadline is actually real. Either one used dishonestly trains your audience to just ignore you. Either one used honestly makes the decision feel immediate in a way that benefits both sides. Now, once someone is motivated to act, the next thing you need to engineer is how they perceive the price. That's why the next psychological trigger is anchoring. The first number someone sees becomes the reference point for everything that follows. So show a higher price first, and every subsequent price feels more affordable by comparison. This is why crossed-out original prices work. This is why premium tiers exist in offer structures, even when most people don't buy them. The anchor sets the perception of value before you reveal the actual cost. And in a well-structured funnel, the premium option doesn't need to sell. It just needs to make the mid-tier look like a strong deal. So anchoring works on price, but the next trigger works on everything else. This is the contrast principle. Perception is always relative. People don't usually evaluate things in isolation. They evaluate them in comparison to what they just encountered. For example, a $97 product feels cheap right after someone sees a $497 product. A warm room feels hot after someone walks in from the cold. A simple solution feels elegant after someone has been struggling with a complicated one. That's why in copywriting, this means structuring your presentation to control what your reader competitor offer to. So you can show the hard way before you show the easy way, you know what I mean? Show the expensive alternative before you show your price. So once someone sees the contrast clearly, how you frame the decision determines whether they say yes. Now we're talking about the framing effect. The same information presented differently produces completely different emotional responses. A surgeon who says there's an 80% survival rate gets a different reaction than one who says there's a 20% mortality rate. In copywriting, this means focusing on the outcome and the transformation rather than the effort or the risk. You can frame the gap between where your customer is and where they want to be, and position your offer as the bridge. So good framing doesn't distort reality, it just highlights the part of reality that most relevant to the person you're trying to reach. Now that you have framed the decision well, the next trigger is about what happens when you give too many options. This is choice overload. The more options you give someone, the less likely they are to choose any of them. There's a study where a supermarket offered 24 flavors of jam, then reduced it to 6. Fewer options generated significantly more sales. So here, your job as a marketer is to simply simplify the decision, remove friction, and guide the customer through the process step by step. So giving someone 10 options is not generosity, it's confusion dressed up as abundance. So just simplify the path, make the next step obvious, and use the next trigger to keep them moving even with the impulse. The Zeigarnik effect. People remember incomplete things more than completed ones. This is why cliffhangers work in storytelling. This is why open loops in copywriting keep people reading. So when you start something and don't finish, the brain creates a kind of attention that wants resolution. In marketing, this means starting a story and promising to finish later. So raising a question and holding the answer until the end. Every good hook uses this. Every good email sequences uses this. So once someone is engaged, the next trigger is about deepening their relationship in a counterintuitive way. This is the Ben Franklin effect. When someone does a favor for you, they start to like you more. And this is funny, but this sounds backwards, but the psychology is solid. When someone invests effort into a relationship, even a small amount, they justify that investment by telling themselves they must like the person they helped. Asking your audience to do something small, answer a question, leave a comment, share their opinion, creates a micro commitment that increases their attachment to you. In practice, this means building engagement into your content strategy. So, comments, polls, responses, feedback requests, every small action someone takes towards you deepens the relationship more than you do something for them. And the most powerful thing you can show them to close the loop is that others have already made that same decision. This is social proof, our last psychological trigger and probably the most powerful one. People do what other people like them are doing. This is why social proof is one of the highest leverage elements in any funnel. Screenshots, testimonials, case studies, view counts, follower numbers. The closer those people are to the identity of your ideal buyer, the more powerful the effect. When someone thinks people like me do this, the decision just gets easy. The most effective social proof is specific. For example, a testimonial that says, "Oh, this changed my life." This is weak, but a testimonial that says, "I went from 2% conversion to 11% conversion in 30 days using this exact framework" is way more powerful. Specificity signals truth, vagueness signals fabrication. Now, here's the thing about all of 15 of these triggers. They work best when the underlying offer is real, the guarantee is genuine, the scarcity is true, the results in your testimonials actually happen. When the foundation is solid, these triggers amplify what's already good, but when the foundation is weak, they just accelerate distrust. So you need to build something real, then use these psychological triggers to make sure the right people find it and say yes. I'm Kayan, and on this channel I break down the real mechanics behind marketing and copywriting that actually move people to act. Subscribe if you want more of this.